Hi everyone, great to have you here with us and welcome to the Grossing Out series. Just a quick reminder, in our first session we explored the creation of Garbage Pail Kids and its Hebrew counterpart, Havurat HaZevel, and discussed how it quickly gained strong moral backlash from Israeli adults. Today we'll take a closer look at how this American counterculture, which made Aliyah to Israel, evolved into a powerful vehicle for Israeli satire. What began as a form of entertainment aimed at children soon became a means of political commentary, shifting its influence into adults' discourse, a legacy that actually continued to resonate in Israel to this day. Let's go back to the 1980s and dive into a single historical event that sparked a chain reaction, linking Havurat HaZevel to Israeli politics. As I already mentioned in the first session, Havurat HaZevel was released on September 1st, 1987, the first day of school year. Historical evidence, however, indicated it took adults until about November to even notice that Havurat HaZevel became a thing among Israeli children. On December 28, 1987, Knesset member David Danino from the National Religious Party sent a question to Yitzhak Navon, who served at that time as the Minister of Education and Culture. In that question, Danino expressed his concerns about the harmful effect of Havurat HaZevel on Israeli children. Let's read Danino's question together. And I quote, "Recently the market was flooded by a children's booklet called Havurat HaZevel. The booklet is distributed by a company called Aggressive Marketing. And in the booklet, children are asked to paste stickers of disgusting characters. When purchasing these stickers, the children also receive special certificates, including liar's permit, stupid student's permit, a license to hate, crazy driver's license, and more. The crazy driver's license states, among other things, that this license allows you to drive on sidewalks, to bypass traffic jams, to drive forward at stop signs, and etc. The permit to be disgusting state, among other things, that this permit gives you the right to be despicable and disgusting as you truly are. These booklets are distributed in public schools, and it seems that teachers do not stop people from buying them." Then Danino asked the questions. A, are you aware of the data above? And 2, does the ministry intend to prohibit the purchase of this booklet by school students? If so, how? And here are the two stickers that Danino is mentioning in his question. The first one is license to be crazy driver. It is signed, by the way, by Aleph Taf Hey Meturlal, which reads you're a lunatic. And the second one is a license to be disgusting, is signed by Niv Zehavi, a pun for I'm nasty from the inside. Niv Zebi. What happened next was that about a week later, Yitzhak Navon sent his reply to David Danino, and I quote, "These stickers are issued by private publisher, and children purchase them in grocery stores and kiosks. The Minister of Education and Culture has no legal mandate either to prohibit the distribution or the purchase of these stickers. I assume," says Navon, "that this trend, like other trends in the market, will eventually end." That was his answer. Danino's question, as well as Navon's answer, quickly became a part of a broader debate about the separation of religion and state in general, and in particular about the involvement of politicians from the National Religious Party in secular education. In the days that followed, newspapers published articles, columns, and surprisingly also visual and textual caricatures that either related to or were inspired by Havurat HaZevel. For instance, Michal Kafra, a contributor to Ma'ariv, one of the two major Israeli daily newspapers back then, published her creative textual response, and I quote. You can see that in the yellow here. Why doesn't anyone develop this game in other areas? Political, for example. What's the problem? Instead of diaper tzipi, P diaper tzipi, let's have Pu diaper geula, blockhead Paris, and chopped shamir and parsley. And surely we can trade them. In her text, Michal Kafra refers to 3 contemporary politicians. Knesset member Geula Cohen from Hatchia party, acting Prime Minister Shimon Peres from the Alignment, Ma'arach party, and Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir from the Likud party. About a week later, Ido Noy, another popular daily newspapers in Israel during the 1980s, published a satiric limerick by Didi Manussi. In his limerick, Manussi established a conceptual connection between garbage and politics. At the same time, by utilizing the same root name, he created an etymological link between the Knesset member, literally Chavrei Knesset, Chavrei, and garbage bunch, literally Havura, Chavrei and Havura. And since there are beautiful rhymes in the original limerick, I'll read the last part here in yellow in Hebrew. And for all of you non-Hebrew speakers, you have the translation to English here. So it goes like this. מצחיק שחבר כנסת דנינו, הנה בשמו קראתי, שכח את בלה בלה בלה, ונתי הפיראטי, ורוני ברברוני, ועמי מטומטמי, שלכל אחד מהמה יש חבר כנסת תאום סיאמי. או שמא במכוון, רשימתו שבורה, מפחד כי גם לא תאום בחבורה. Let's continue. About 2.5 months later, Ziva Yariv created another version of political Havurat HaZevel. This piece was published again in Yediot HaCharonot, and I quote, I want to ask Knesset member Danilo, how would you feel if someone would separate you from your dear friends? Yitzchak הנחנק, גאולה נגאולה, שמעון קרס, שמיר קצוץ, ניסים מטיל מיסים, כישרון, רפול קנה נפול, ועזר קצה עזר. Like Michal Kafra, Ziva Yariv too spoofed contemporary politicians. And here are some, for example, Minister of Defense Yitzhak Rabin, Knesset member Geula Cohen, acting Prime Minister Shimon Peres, Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir, Minister of Finance Moshe Nissim, Minister of Industry and Commerce Ariel Sharon, Knesset member Rafael Eitan, and lastly, member without portfolio Ezer Weizmann, who later also became the president of Israel. As we just saw in the last 3 slides, Michal Kafra, Ziva Yariv, and Didi Manussi all dealt with text. Then in February 1988, we witnessed the first shift from textual to visual. Here's a column by Amnon Birman that was published in Kol Ha'ir, a local weekly from Jerusalem. He opens with a serious question. What is the secret behind Havurat HaZevel success? And I quote, we asked the psychologist, what is the secret behind Havurat HaZevel success? Why do children love them so much? The psychologist took a puff from his pipe and said, Havurat HaZevel symbolized everything children secretly want to do. Even if parents and teachers tell them how to behave, deep inside they still want to be wild and free. Havurat HaZevel are messy and rude. They pick their noses, throw trash, scratch their wounds, and don't care about others. They do all the things that normal kids would do if no one would stop them. This is why they are so popular, and this is also why people keep talking about them. Sounds logical, right? Well, that was Amnon Biersman's words. And now, when we look at the collage here, included in Bierman's article featuring Yitzhak Rabin and Shimon Peres as members of Havurat HaZevel, we can fully understand the satirical statement of Bierman. The text, together with the visual, leads to the conclusion that the real source of trashiness are not Havurat HaZevel, but rather Rabin and Peres. And this is why they are so popular, and this is why people keep talking about them. About the same time, Ronnie Applebaum and Arnon Avni from Arieli Advertising Company, the parent company of Aggressive Marketing, started working on a new series of political Havurat HaZevel called Havurat HaHevel, or in English, the Vanity Bunch. The series was published on the front page of the 7 Days supplement, Shiva Yamim, the weekly edition of Yediot Acharonot. The Vanity Bunch included Sarid me Yossi, or remnant from Yossi Sarid, a Knesset member Yossi Sarid. Yitzhak Shmir, or Shmir, referring to Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir. Peres Keres, Tricked Peres, referring to acting Prime Minister Shimon Peres. Bad Rabin, referring to Minister of Defense Yitzhak Rabin. Geula Nag'ula Bashtachim, someone touched Geula's territories, referring to Knesset member Geula Cohen. And the last one is Sharon Garon, or gorging Sharon, referring to Minister of Industry and Commerce Ariel Sharon. I would say that looking at the style of Havurat HaHevel, it seems that the format stayed more or less the same as the original. However, when looking closely at the illustration, we see a shift from the playful, infant-like figures of Havurat HaZevel. The images here of the politicians are not so cute anymore. The figure consists of realistic features, and at the same time, they are seriously distorted. 2 weeks later, by the way, another political version of Havurat HaZevel appeared, this time in the monthly magazine Monitin. It was created by Ran Edelist and Doron Rosenblatt, the illustrator. The new spin-off was titled Havurat HaHevel, which literally translates to the rope bunch. And as you can see, the title rope bunch serves as a reminder for all politicians to watch out from the hangsman knot. Overall, 18 Israeli and Palestinian politicians appeared on 3 full pages. Similar to Applebaum, Rosenblatt replaced the baby-like figures with caricatures reflecting the true, somewhat distort figures of the politicians. Rosenblatt also gave special attention to the background of each card, depicting political issues associated with each of the characters. Let's see some examples, some close-ups. The then acting Prime Minister Shimon Peres was perceived in the 1980s as naive, easy to be manipulated, breakable, and as having no political backbone. That was Shimon Peres, and now let's go to Yitzhak Rabin. In the mid-1980s, long before the Oslo Accords, and long before becoming a symbol for peace, at least for some sectors in the Israeli public, Yitzhak Rabin was perceived as a violent bully. The reason for that was that only a few months before, at September 1987, the first Intifada broke out. And Yitzhak Rabin, as the Minister of Defense, was quoted as instructing IDF commanders to break the bones of Palestinian protesters. And as you can see here, this historical event was recorded in Rabin's Havurat HaZevel political version. In Itzik Marbitzik, literally beating Itzik, Rabin, or bad Rabin, and the last one is Mufrabin Melech HaRechov, which literally means street king, twisted Rabin. That was my translation for this. Another famous politician in the 1980s is Ariel Sharon. Lying Arik on the right draws inspiration from the aftermath of the first Lebanese war, of the first Lebanon war. It portrayed Sharon as a schoolboy standing by a blackboard, attempting to solve a seemingly simple mathematical equation. What is the distance between the Israeli town of Metula and the Lebanese city of Beirut? By the way, the answer is definitely not 18 kilometers, more like 70 kilometers. Sharon figure in the vanity bench here on the left shows Sharon devouring a small child. This image echoes the Sabra and Shatila massacre in September 1982. Even though the massacre was conducted by Lebanese militia, Sharon was blamed for not preventing it. That's all for the vanity bench and the rope bench. And now let's see something completely different. A few months ago, I looked through the Israeli Public Broadcasting Corporation archive and found that the Haifa Purim parade, the Ad Lo Yada, that took place in March 1988 included a massive float built on top of a garbage truck. The float showcased Havurat HaNefel, or the flop bunch. Let's see the video.
היום פורים והעיר חיפה צהלה ושמחה. ברחובות העיר עברה תהלוכת הארכי-פרחיטורה המסורתית. בראש התהלוכה ניסה ראש העירייה אריה גוראל על מכונית כיבוי מחופש לחבאי, ובעקבותיו בובה בדמותו ובצלמו, שסימלה את להיטותו של גוראל לבנייתן של מזרקות בעיר. בובות אחרות עסקו בנושאים אקטואליים כמו זיהום האוויר, חילוקי הדעות והממשלה, ואפילו יונת השלום הנצלית על האש.
For any of you who missed it, here is a screenshot of the flop bunch, as well as the raised middle finger here, attached to the back of the garbage truck, which points the audience. As we just saw, the flop bunch on this side of the garbage truck included three politicians: Shimon Peres from the Alignment Party, and David Levy and Yitzhak Modai from the Likud Party. I would really love to discover which three politicians were included on the other side of this garbage truck. However, unfortunately, I haven't found any record for that side yet. Now let's talk about the essence. All examples of political Havurat HaZevel I showed you today got published in mass media, newspapers and magazines. The flop bunch in Haifa, however, tells a different story. It is a kind of folk art created by the people and for the people. In my perspective, it demonstrates that that by March 1988, the thematic connection between Havurat HaZevel and Israeli politics have been firmly established also in popular culture. And I think that 1988 was the right timing for making a connection between Havurat HaZevel and Israeli politics. The 1984 to 1988 rotation government, unity government of Shimon Peres and Yitzhak Shamir, was nearing its end, with the upcoming Knesset elections scheduled for November of that year. some say that timing is everything, and indeed by mid-1988, the term Havurat HaZevel became a symbol for anyone seeking to highlight corruption, decay, and political stench. Here are some examples for the use of the Hebrew phrase Havurat HaZevel as a rhetoric asset in political context. In April 1989, Gan Litani, who wrote opinion articles for the Aulam Hazeh weekly, came out against the selection of Yossi Beilin, a politician from the Ma'arach, as the future leader of the Labour Party. And I quote, "I'm surprised that the makers of Havurat HaZevel stickers didn't create a Beilin figure as a symbol of disloyalty and tireless intrigue, kind of a snake." About a year later, Aryeh Bender, here on the right, who covered the demonstration of homeless people in Jerusalem, reported that the protesters shouted "death to the government" and Havurat HaZevel during the demonstration. Using Havurat HaZevel to describe Israeli politics was also prominent in municipal politics. Shlomo Chich-Lahat, the mayor of Tel Aviv at that time, was quoted as saying, "I'm in favor of separating the Knesset elections from the municipal elections. The national garbage should be separated from the municipal trash." Another example, here on the right, comes from a small village named Menachamia. The article reports of an incident that took place in February 1989 when a past member Knesset, Ben Ishalita, was sued for calling his opponents Havurat HaZevel. It was so nice for me to find out that a few years after Knesset member David Danino sent his question to Minister Yitzhak Navon, Havurat HaZevel found its way back to the Knesset, however, this time as a rhetorical asset. During a discussion in the Knesset held in February 16, 1993, Knesset member Uzi Landau from the Likud party came out against the Labour Party and its Secretary General, Nissim Zvili, who promoted peace talks with the Palestinians. And before I read the section in yellow, please note that the Hebrew name Zvili, of Haver Knesset Zvili, sounds much like the Hebrew term Zevel, meaning garbage. Okay, so now I quote. I must say that Zvili is an honest man. He's telling the truth. He'll vote against the law because he's in favor of the establishment of a Palestinian state. And I respect him for that. But one must ask, what about all the others? How will they vote? For instance, Mr. Prime Minister Rabin. We shall find out soon through this law, which can be regarded as a lie detector. This law will answer the question whether only Nissim is Zvili or the whole Labour Party Zvili, the Zvili bunch. Again, the Hebrew term Zvili sounds much like the Hebrew term garbage, Zevel. Now let's read this last sentence. This time, let's replace Zevel by Zvili. This law will answer the question whether Nissim is garbage or the whole Labour Party is garbage, the garbage bunch. It must be noted that Landau's metaphorical statement that the Labour Party is actually Havurat HaZevel required his audience in the Knesset to have a certain knowledge about Havurat HaZevel, what it is, as well as about what it stood for in the context, namely as a symbol of political stench. As we just saw, Havurat HaZevel had an influence on Israeli political satire. And now let's see what's going on in the US. Around the same time, across the Atlantic, we see a similar, however limited, phenomenon of artists using Havurat HaZevel, or Garbage Pail Kids in English, the Garbage Pail model, to satirize contemporary American politics. In September 1986, exactly a year before Havurat HaZevel even came to Israel, Mad Magazine released a Garbage Pail issue featuring Alfred E. Newman on the front cover as Nothing Newman. The back cover featured original artwork titled Garbage Pail Adults, presenting parodies of 9 contemporary celebrities and politicians, including George Bush, for instance, and also non-American leaders such as Gaddafi, Khomeini, and Yasser Arafat, for instance. Again, that's 1986. Unlike Mad Magazine's unofficial spin-offs, Topps, Chewing Gum Incorporated official creative team were also officially involved in using Garbage Pail Kids for American politicians. The original series of the 1980s included only few cards featuring the then President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, along with some of the most important figures in American history, such as George Washington, Franklin, and Lincoln. As I already mentioned, Topps discontinued Garbage Pail Kids from 1989. Then, after a long break, it was relaunched in 2003. The brand still much alive and kicking today, with thousands of new cards released each year. The brand new series was released in 2013, marked a new direction for Topps in addressing not historical but rather contemporary politicians and current affairs. One standout card titled Booger Barak and Handy Hussein draw inspiration from Shepard's Ferry Obama Hope poster and spoofing contemporary president in 2013. The upcoming 2016 elections reflected a change in Topps' approach to formally and systematically deal with political content. In 2015, the Garbage Pail President series was released, including George Washington, Franklin Pierce, Lincoln, College, and other past presidents. The 2015 presidential set, though significant, was just a teaser to the political overflow of 2016 and 17. In January 2016, Topps released the 2016 presidential candidate that featured the 5 main candidates: Hillary Clinton, Sanders, Bush, Carson, and, of course, Donald Trump. And by the way, this card was based on a 2004 design by Tom Bank here on the right. The card portrays Donald Trump seated on his throne. Next to him, there is a roll of toilet paper crafted from dollar bills, while on the other side, a black leather suitcase full with money. Behind him, instead of a can of air freshener, is a can of hairspray, along with paintings of his iconic construction project, the Dump Plaza, and its counterpart, at least from his perspective, the Mona Lisa. Trump is engrossed in reading the back cover of the Trump Times. The front cover featured the picture of George W. Bush. Underneath the headline, "You're fired," a reference to the NBC reality show The Intern that he was hosted at that time. This illustration on the right served as an inspiration for the 2016 new design created for the 2016 presidential candidate series. As you can see, only minor changes were made. Instead of newspaper, Donald Trump, this time depicted as the President of the United States, is holding toilet paper, inscribed with the opening phrase of the American Constitution: "We, the people of the United States." The following months, Tops introduced multiple sets dedicated entirely to the 2016 elections. These sets, launched throughout the entire election year, followed the schedule of key election events. In September 2016, as the political campaign approached its peak, Tops introduced an extensive series titled Disgrace to the White House, featuring 152 stickers that targeted the final candidate. In 2020, the Disgrace to the White House series was relaunched to capture the presidential campaign between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. This series included 94 different stickers. Well, that was a quick review about the unofficial and official political Garbage Pail Kids in the US. Now let's return to the 1980s and to Israel, and let's frame today's session. Havurat HaZevel, which was marketed in the 1980s to Israeli children, became a source of inspiration for a number of spin-offs that aimed at adults and dealt with Israeli politics. By choosing Havurat HaZevel as a visual and textual model for Havurat HaZevel, for political satire, different artists in today's presentation expressed their aversion of what they saw as morally wrong, harmful, and shameful on both sides of the political map. But our journey doesn't stop in the 1980s. In our next session, we will fast forward to the 21st century and explore how these political versions of Havurat HaZevel found new life and new audience, this time in this jungle of social media. See you next week.